Hello everyone and welcome on this video where we'll have an overview on what is Azure Lighthouse and its main benefits. For the one that wants to know very quickly the key benefits, doesn't have the time to see the full video, here are the 4 main points on the solution. But first, remember to subscribe, which is I think down here. Before starting with the 4 main benefits, let's have a quick overview on what is Azure Lighthouse. Azure Lighthouse is a Microsoft service that enables cross and multi-tenant management, allowing for higher automation, scalability, and enhanced governance across resources and tenants. It's specifically built for service provider where they can deliver managed service using comprehensive and robust management tooling built into the Azure platform. Customers maintain control over who can access the tenant, what resources they can access, and what action can be taken. This offering can also benefit enterprise IT organization managing resources across multiple tenants. You can find extensive documentation in the link down in the description. Let's see then the key benefit of Azure Lighthouse. First, governance. You have all your customers' resources across different tenants all visible in one single portal, your portal. Second, security. Your employee can use the company managed credential to manage the customer resources, say goodbye to shared or guest accounts. Third, intellectual property protection. You do not have to deploy your IP into customer tenant, but you keep it in your hands. Fourth, it's also a foundation for new extra services like Cloud Security Operations Center with Azure Sentinel or management of multi-cloud on-premise environment with Azure Arc. Those are the 4 key benefits when thinking an Azure Lighthouse solution. Stay with me if you want to go more in detail, but in the meantime, have you already subscribed? You can find the button or the logo down here, I think. So let's start with point number 1, governance. Usually as a service provider, when you have multiple customers or multiple tenants to manage, you have 2 options usually. The first one is to have your employees added as a guest in the customer tenant, so each one employee can connect to the customer tenant. And the second one is to have a shared account, so the classical admin at, which is a user that exists in every customer tenant, but of course with different domains. So you have one user that if you have 100 customers has 100 admin at credential to use and shared among all the people. So there is really a mess in the amount of the accounts that you need to manage to handle. This also brings, especially in the shared account environment, the scenario where if an employee leaves the company, he still have access to the customers until you do not upgrade the password. And when you upgrade the password, you disrupt the service for the other users, the other employees that are working on that customer. Also, having the users added as a guest has kind of a hard segmentation, because when you are working on a specific service on multiple customers, you have to keep switching the domains, and this way it gets a very longer service to deliver. The second perspective is security. So as I said before, maybe you have a shared account, so that shared account doesn't have features activable like MFA, multi-factor authentication, because it's one account shared amongst multiple users. So in this way, you can't enhance advanced security, you can't enable advanced security in these kind of scenarios. The third aspect is IP protection. You may well know that when you operate on the customer, either it's an admin ad account or your account as a guest, when you want to deploy your IP, your solution, which maybe is a template to run, a script to run to the customer tenant, you have to deploy the template to the customer tenant and run it. This means that at this very moment, the customer owns and control your template, your IP. So let's say a customer then suddenly remove your access because it doesn't want to work with you anymore, you'll have lost control of your IP. The customer has your IP and can use that IP as many times as he wants without paying you nothing. So this is the kind of security and management and governance things that the provider has to handle to manage when you have multiple customers. With Lighthouse, things change a bit. It's not that you get access to your customer tenant, but the other way around, you have the resource of your customer that are projected in your tenant. So in this way, when the user that has already been on board in Lighthouse, has the right permission and etc., connects with his own company credential to the Azure portal of your company, so the MSP, the Azure portal of the MSP, he is able to see all the other customers that has been onboarded and is able to operate on those customers from one single portal, from one single page. What this means? This means that this switch the concept of management. You have your employees, let's say you have your 100 employees that operate on your customers. Each one has his own company credential, managed company credential. And with that credential, they connect to the Azure portal. And with Lighthouse, they will see all the customer they have access to, so with the proper permission, etc., with their company credential, and then they can operate. This means, for example, that if this person leaves the company, there is the normal HR process that his account gets suspended or canceled, deleted, whatever, and in this way, he is not able anymore to connect to the customer because his account got suspended and everything was referring to his account. Or maybe he changed roles within the company, just changing the property of the group, then he again doesn't have any more the access to the customer. On security perspective, of course, this allows you then is a one account per user to have also security enhancement like MFA or privilege identity management and etc. in order to have a much more secure way to manage and connect to your customers. And what about intellectual property? Then also intellectual property is protected because since you have your resources of the customer that are projected in your tenant, then the scripts and the template sit in your tenant, so in your control. So you can run the script from within your very own tenant and just select which customer you want to impact or you want to deploy the script. So you want to run the script for 1, 10, 20, 1000 customers, doesn't matter. You just run from your tenant and everything stays in your control. Of course, on the customer side, he has also full control of what you're doing. They see on the logs who has done what, so see exactly the users of the provider, they've got the service, what has done in their environment, and anytime they're free to just remove your access, so their resources of the customer are not anymore projected to your tenant, you can't operate anymore. So in this way, they get protection, they get disconnected, but again, you get protection of your stuff because your stuff, your IP stays on your tenant. As maybe some of you have already seen what could be also the next step, because already this is, don't take me wrong, this is a very strong foundation for providers because finally they can have one single portal to run everything to manage their customer. But with this, you can leverage further things. Think, for example, if you want to build a security operations center, or maybe you someday thought to do that, then you stumble in the complexity, in the long term of configuring everything on the cost and etc. Now you can do this with Azure Sentinel, for example. Azure Sentinel is a cloud CM and SOAR solution that allows to put all together a lot of trillions and billions of information of logs and also apply some ML, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and etc. to see if all this noisy information actually there is an attack, and this is all done in the cloud. And you can deploy these on the customer premise, so all the logs and the data stays in the customer hand, but you can again see this information with Lighthouse, and maybe you have your security analyst that can run queries across multiple customers. Same things, for example, goes for managing also on-premise, other clouds and IoT stuff in the Azure portal. You can do this with Azure Lighthouse in conjunction with Azure Arc. Azure Arc basically is another, let's call it technology service solution built by Microsoft that allows you to connect even not only other clouds, AWS, Google, Alibaba, whatever, but also on-premise stuff. So your on-premise servers, data centers, computers, coffee machines, because we're talking also about IoTs. And this allows to again see these resources visible in your portal. You can manage those resources, and so you can apply all like security policies, access control, and etc. within the Azure portal to handle also the on-premise environment. And you can again deploy this to a single customer, so you can have like a one customer aggregation where in that customer they have their Azure, their data centers, their PC, everything connected. And again, with Lighthouse, you can project these resources. So you have hundreds of customers that work in this way. Then you can manage everything from cloud to on-premise of your 100 customers, everything in your Azure portal. How cool is that? So as you can see, Lighthouse open a very variety of opportunities on new extra fancy services that you can offer to your customer, adding to your portfolio. More video will arrive on this technology like Sentinel Arc, so hit the subscribe button in order to be sure to not miss those. Thank you very much for watching, and I catch up with you all in the next video. Take it easy guys, bye bye.